I believe like, especially where it's set in like sixth form, college, is a thing where like that is one of the most important parts of I feel like growing up stages because you decide whether you're gonna further your education, you're deciding whether you're gonna go straight to work. And I feel like going through all of that and still having home life, you don't really, you know, understand that. You know, we just look at people doing exams during that period, but we don't understand that. Yes, they're going through a big change, but they're also having issues at home and stuff like that. And I feel like even as adults, we go into work every day, but you go home to maybe something else, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's really important to bring light to that, you know? So it's really important as well when we're touching on topics like that to like be sensitive, but also like bring a bit of humor in there, you know, especially with like Jaden's character. That character's really good at like not being able to read the room and like saying stuff out of turn. I feel like that's what young people do. They don't know how to really read the room and stuff. So I think it's really important to like share light to that whilst touching on difficult topics.
Tell us, what scene was the most difficult for you to direct and bring to life?
Oh, well, I would say it would be the scene between Mike, Tanya, and Zayn, that last ending scene. Um, Again, it's going through that character journey, and I feel like young men, or like boys in general, they do go through these things and they don't, one, feel comfortable to talk about it. Two, it's not really shown a lot. You know, we always look at it from the female point of view. So even choosing this story was kind of like scared to do it, but I feel like I had to do it, you know, because again, this is what young people do go through. And during that scene, I just wanted to, again, just show that, you know, his dad wasn't angry at him. You know, his dad wasn't, he was more angry at her. And I just wanted to like really make sure the audience sort of like took that on board. And again, like I just wanted to bring light to that type of situation because I've been working in the teaching field for over 4 years now. And I feel like, again, this is something that we see, we hear about, but people don't talk about it enough. And again, just waffling a bit, but when it comes to Olivia's character, I really like the fact that she's able to hold him accountable. And that's the beauty about friendship, you know, being able to hold your friend accountable when you see something not right. But a lot of us don't tend to do this. And with this particular friendship group, they sort of hold each other accountable. And I feel like as friends, wherever age you are, it's important to do so, not just like turn a blind eye if you didn't see something. And a lot of us are scared to sort of like say, you know, stuff that are a bit uncomfortable. So yeah, but young people are not.
Yeah, very important themes we've had through it. And finally, Maddy, would you love audience to take away from this? What do you hope that they leave feeling?
I feel like I want everyone here to leave feeling like you've taken something from each and every character. Even like me, this was like quite therapeutic for me to like write because even when I think about my times in education, like I can think about so many people that may have been going through things, but I didn't really deep it because I was still young, you know. So when people are laughing at people's parents or this situation, you're there laughing, but that's a huge safeguarding issue, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's important for us to sort of reflect and sort of understand, okay, the position that we are as young people, as adults, is that something that we decided or is that, you know, a product of our household? So just a reflection and just to really know whatever age you are, it's nice to have like a group of people that you can confide in. It's nice to have a group of people that you can talk to about because mental health is a big thing. And I feel like, again, these lot finding that the people that were capping from and hiding from were the people that they needed to tell the truth to. And once they did that, you saw them elevate with each other, you know? So that's it.
Lovely, beautifully said from you, Maddy. Now we're going to move on to the cast.
I'd say what challenged me the most was actually just, you know, being able to just be vulnerable. I think that's a big thing about Zayn, especially. Zayn, you know, likes to look like he has everything all together, and you know, just finding the truth within myself as well. Where you know, there's times where I've actually put up a front on to, you know, look like I'm alright, but deep down there's been things I've been going through as well. I'm just, you know, trying to just bring that within the character. So yeah, that it was very hard to be fair, but again, it's therapeutic, and you know, you do have to bring these life stories to your character and channel them because they're meant to be a vessel of your life, essentially, anyways. So yeah.
Something that was challenging for me, I think, and a couple of the cast members talked about in rehearsal as well, is how similar we are to our characters. And it kind of links back to being vulnerable again because we're so close. Because we're so close to our feeling like, oh, Nah, not everyone. Mainly us for what I've said. You know, our characters are very similar, and yeah, I think it's quite a scary thing to do because I feel like a lot of actors act to kind of lose themselves in characters. And what I found myself doing was bullet pointing a whole lot of things that me and Jaden were the exact same at. So when I was performing out here, it felt like I was KJ performing in thousands of people, like people everywhere, just eyes on KJ. Which I'm not used to. I'm used to hiding in a character, but you know, it was a good challenge and it was fun.
Did it change your perception of these issues, or how would you say that was for you?
I feel like, especially going back to the question you were just saying, like what the challenge is, it's an incredibly difficult role because obviously, I think what spoke to me is like I'm not like obviously everyone knows about sexual abuse. Everyone has like unfortunately so many women that we know have been victims of it. And what is looked at less is when women are perpetrators. And it shouldn't be looked at less. They should, you know, it's all important, but there's a lot of ego that comes into it. There's a lot of like vulnerability that isn't shed light on, and that's why it's important that this story is about how people are able to communicate with each other better and find ways of like catharsis essentially. To go from she's just in 3 scenes across like right at the beginning, middle and end. And in that journey she has to show that she's a predator, trying not to be completely one-dimensional because you have to understand that that comes from somewhere, not to justify anything that she does, but like you can't judge your character really, so you have to try and be like, okay, where's that come from? Why does she think that's acceptable? And I found that like emotionally quite it's tough, especially when you're acting with obviously a young actor as well. We're both quite young, to be fair, but so Tanya. Anyway, but yeah, I think like it's a hugely vulnerable and intimate thing to do, and she also like I've not been feeling my personal life. I was saying to Mads like the other day, like I've not been feeling that confident generally, but this character demands confidence. So that's been a really big learning curve as an actor of like even if you don't feel it, and even if that confidence is feigned and it's from insecurity, presenting confident when you aren't feeling that at all. Yeah, thank you.
The way I look at friendship in this play, obviously I'm looking through Olivia's lens, is physically being there for each other as well as verbally. Because obviously we know in this play they kind of cuss each other out. Well, but then when it comes to the moments that matter, they really are there for each other. Like the first time I read the script, one of my favorite moments is the moment that they all decide to go to Olivia's house for the prom, and I'm like they ditch their own prom just to go create a prom at her house, and that's after she's kind of like Zayn, where it's taken so much for her to finally be vulnerable with them. Like she had to be drunk to be vulnerable with them, but by the time she had that vulnerability, they all came in clutch essentially, and they all were there for her in a moment where they knew that she needed them essentially. So I think in this play it really shows up as like, or I guess showing up for each other, not just like being like, oh, I'm here for you and this, that, and the other, like actually being present, actually trying to make, like facilitate life for your friend. I really think that's how friendship shows up in this play.
I agree. That came across so clearly. Why are people hiding behind lies? Why do people hide their truth? What is that about?
Well, they just copy it, innit?
Nothing right now.
Not really. It's just they're young, the kids, and they want to show something. Mostly they're not. So yeah. So, but they have to leave the life to understand what's ahead of them. That's the best time.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Just before we all go, I just want to also give a big thanks to Chia at the back, who is my assistant director, to Atlanta, and also Carlos and everyone there, all my girls and my friends that have been helping. So I really feel